Hi guys, Method here for another build. This is the Reflect Crusader. I'll say it again, Reflect, not Deflect. Basically the main reason for this is this armour piece right here, which is 50% chance to reflect damage. The amount reflected of damage is based on your missing HP. The build is going to be built around being below 50% HP or hovering just on 50%, so you're going to be reflecting 50% of all the enemy damage done to you back to them. And also the shield has a 10% evade attacks and reflect the damage back to the attacker. The sword, we're going to use each attack has a chance to gain armor piercing equal to deflect value. We've got 70% deflect, so that's a 70% chance that each attack will completely ignore armor. It's great for taking down the Lehman Russes and the Hellbrutes and whatnot, anything armor based. For perks, we're going to have artificial organs, basically just for that HP regen, because we don't want to be using inoculator, we don't want to be going sky high, because the perk this is built around is crisis management. Above 50% HP you suffer 20% more damage, below 50% you suffer 40% less damage. That synergizes with the armor piece so that we're reflecting as much damage as possible back to the attackers. So that's why we'll have the regen. The regen is base at 124, but there are perks in the build which give you bonus regen when you get to certain things, like below 50% HP, your regen's boosted by an extra 20, so yeah, like even though it takes a while to get comfortable at playing below 50% HP constantly, it works. Once you get comfortable, it's fine. We also have burnished weaponry, which gives 100% deflect with melee weapons, but we lose 20% damage reduction. It's base damage reduction, it's not a flat 20%. I'm not sure, depending on if you're playing solo, I would say swap burnished weaponry for the feint mastery so that you lose the 70% deflect, but you gain the 42% damage. So playing solo, use this, that you can actually kill things. If you're playing in a group, definitely go for the burnished weaponry and have that deflect chance that you're deflecting, because deflect ignores 100% of the damage. For attributes, we're going in the usual 20-10-4 for what we can get right now, just for the extra critical chance, movement speed, deflect chance. Extra 30 HP regen per second. With this, it takes it to 60. And let's take a look at the skills. The reason we also want crit is because we are using a sword which has critical hit, 10% extra critical hit, and you'll see why. If we go over to criticals first, every critical hit heals a character for 1% max HP. So we're going into dipping in to get a bit of crit here and there. We also get crit from the close combat, and also 5% crit for combo skills, which the main attack, the left mouse button, is a combo skill on the sword. We've got 20% bonus damage for melee skills when your HP is below 50%. 90% of the time you're going to be below 50% unless you're moving from certain areas of the map where you're not taking damage. Your health will regen back to full really fast, but as soon as you get into combat it will drop below that 50% and stay. We've got all melee kills grant 20% movement speed, zoom move fast. We've got just basic increased melee damage. We've got the two stances here, which one gives you 7% when you're fighting one target and the other one gives you 7% when there's more than 3 targets. Basically you're going to have one of the two stances activated at a time, so plus 7% damage. Also have successful deflects provide a stack and 5% damage bonus to the next attack. That's going to be stacked permanently basically in between each attack just about. The Puritan path, I've just stuck it into incoming attacks with warp damage or reflected to the attacker, dealing 30% of the original amount. The reason I've took this is because warp attacks are not reflected with this armor for some reason. It only reflects physical damage, which is kinetic gunfire, rockets, and melee damage. It does not reflect flamers, it doesn't reflect warp damage, so that's why we've took that skill. Whoops. In hit points, we've gone up to here to get regenerate 2% suppression if your character's below 50%. Again, we're playing below 50%, hovering at that break point, so that's going to be permanently up just about. Every 10 HP healed, the character regains 1 suppression point. With this amount of HP regen, we're constantly gaining a lot of suppression, which is what's needed for playing as a melee tank. Every successful deflect gives 5 suppression. That's more suppression with what you need. We don't want to be permanent CC'd. But enemy attacks do minus 20% suppression damage until the character is over 50% max HP. Again, we're going to be playing below 50% HP, so that's going to be permanently up. And then heals the character for every 1 HP for every 10 suppression point regained. That's going to be proccing quite a lot. We've got the field surgery here, which is just, I think it's mandatory. I have it on just about every build. It just fits my playstyle. And then regenerate plus 20 HP if your character's below 50% HP. Basically, a lot of the perks which are classed as like emergency or panic perks, which will heal you up when you take damage to get you below health, are going to be permanently running. So yeah, as I've mentioned before, it does take time to get comfortable and not press the inoculator to get your health back up, but once you've done a few missions, it took me maybe about 40 minutes to an hour of playing it to get used to it. I would like jetpack into a bunch of mobs and panic and press my inoculator until I got used to the extra damage above 50% until it went down. So from single DPS, we've got just a basic suppression, then we've got 4% damage just for single target melee. It's a flex basically. This is just the last remaining points. I'm going to put 10% damage and suppression bonus damage in there when I get level 50. I'm only level 49 now, so I'm going to have another 2 perks. Close combat went over that. Physical, just basic physical damage. We've got 5 critical strength because we're just about on the cap for crit chance. We've got incensed weapons, 5% damage to all skills dealing physical damage with less than 1 second cooldown. That applies to the sword because it's a one-handed and it hits, I think, every 0.6 seconds. Yep, 0.6 seconds, and the wide strike is also 0.9 seconds, so it does that for both of them. Then we also have critical hits dealt with physical damage, bestow a stack and vulnerability. Always want vulnerability on the target, extra damage. We've got concussive trauma, physical attacks grant a stack and 10% damage bonus. Attacking a different target negates a bonus. It's a single target build basically. You just want to be focusing the elite or the boss, whatever you are focusing, because the reflected damage will just wipe out all the normal adds. You don't need to be concerned about them at all. And defense, I've gone into this to get 50% deflect bonus from shields. The warp resistance, just to get the 20% reduction by armor, is increased by 20%. What was interesting, what I found out with the reflect damage was when I spec'd fully into the defense tree, because it does a lot of damage. You usually think a tank will go defense, but when I had spec'd into this and took all the physical resist, and it actually reduced the reflected damage. So I don't know if that's intentional or if it's a bug, but because the damage was reduced when it hit me, it was then reflecting reduced damage back to the enemies. So I found it wasn't doing as much damage, so I was finding it quicker to actually kill them before they reflected. So I took away all of the defensive tree, went into the close combat, the physical and critical, and I found that I survived from healing from the crits and the just HP regen, that I didn't need the defense as much, and then I was able to deal as much damage with the reflect as possible. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. I'm gonna drop gameplay. I can clear impossible tarots in about 2 minutes, and I'm going to do a data hunt just so you can see the large amount of mobs that spawn on a data hunt, and I'm not going to attack a single one. Normally on a deflect Crusader, it would just deflect the attacks, you wouldn't take the damage, but I just want you guys to see how much damage it reflects, because there is an animation. It's like a yellowy gold, like lightning beam that hits the enemies, and it makes a cool little zap zap sound when it reflects the damage. So hope you enjoy the build. I hope you guys that are playing tank and think it's a good build, let me know what you think. And yeah, here's a little bit of gameplay. Enjoy. Look forward to the war zones at the end of the week. Method out.
Electrospectral scanning revealed multiple entry nodes to the mnemonic network. Locate cogitator stations to gain access. May the Omnisire guide your hand.
Repent! Your head on a spot. Perish, Bill!
Accessing hostile network. Data siphon protocols initiated. Warning, enemy response teams nearby. Prepare for contact. Binaric extraction complete. The harvested data is secure. Injecting purge protocols to compromised node. Locate next station. Point of entry established. Harvesting data from compromised network. Warning, hostile units inbound.
Sacred murder. Savor the pain. Sacred
Die,
sword.
heretic!
Binaric extraction complete. The harvested data is secure. Injecting purge protocols to compromised node. Locate next station.
Perish, Bill!
Point of entry established. Harvesting data from compromised network. Warning, hostile units inbound.
Burn! Burn!
Transfer complete. Initiating noospheric data entombment. Mission is a success. End of log.
For the Emperor! Recoil, unclean!